Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Let me know if you can hear me. In today's stream we have a very special, interesting topic. It's all about AI web apps. So, AI coding is getting incredibly good, as we've all seen. And it's not just speeding up website design and website development, which is already awesome, but it's also opening up the door for something much bigger, which is web apps. And we've all seen these things on social media, people building all kinds of cool things, and most of it I felt like was just hype to get clicks and likes. But I was not sure if people were actually already building and selling web apps to clients. But then I talked to Dominic, and he told me that people are actually selling these things for real. So then I was very interested, because I'm a fan of the Fillout platform, which he is the CEO of. So I asked him, can you please come to the live stream? Because I would love to learn more. Because maybe in the future, we can not only sell websites, but also web apps. So you might know Fillout as a forum platform. I've made videos about them. I love their platform. But they now also offer AI web apps. And they renamed their company to Zite with a Z. This allows you to build all kinds of things like dashboards, internal tools, CRMs. And so the promise is that you can not just make a form, but you can build a system on top of a database and then sell that to clients, which is incredibly exciting. We're gonna take a look at the product. We're gonna talk about it because there are still a lot of things are unsure. Like, is it good enough for client work? Is it safe enough? From a security point of view, how should we price this? So I have a bunch of questions and I am very excited to welcome Dominic into the stream. Dominic, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So let me quickly check the chat if we have good audio. Um, I'm pulling up some comments while we're doing this. Yeah, the time is different in this live stream, guys. Normally I stream later, but Dominic is from?
I'm in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So being in Bali sounds pretty nice as well.
It is. So yeah, the time zones are a bit different, so we couldn't stream at the time. So probably my viewers are not used to this, but most people watch the stream afterwards anyways. People say the audio is good, everything is good, we can hear you. That sounds great. So Dominic, before we get into the whole web app thing, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory? Like, how did you end up here with Fillout and Zite?
For sure. So we started Fillout a bit over 4 years ago. At the time, a lot of people thought that there were already many form builders, which there were. It turns out that the number of use cases for forms is almost unlimited. Like, pretty much every type of business that you can imagine uses forms in some way, and they all use it in very different ways. And so, we set about building Fillout to be a product that would let you build forms really easily, but also build things that are really powerful and really flexible. And so that's how this journey started. Now Fillout has over 10,000 paying customers. We have many hundreds of thousands of teams that are using us in all sorts of different ways. And yeah, it's been an awesome journey. And I'm sure we'll get into this soon with Zite, but yeah, that started a little bit over a year ago today. And that's how we got to where we are now.
That's interesting. Yeah, because they're also on WordPress, there are so many form platforms. So when I first saw Fillout, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go outside of WordPress, but there were also quite a bunch of benefits to having forms outside of WordPress. And yeah, it's also, I feel like it's also personal preference. Like some people just like the experience of some platforms. Some people like it more technical. And what I liked about Fillout is that it's very, well, first of all, the platform is beautiful. Like I could feel the passion in it, in the UI, in the branding. It was just, I was sold immediately. Like sometimes you have that, you visit the website, and you're like, I'm sold. Like this is a company that cares. Uh, but I think also the ease of use really like sold me the UI. Um, yeah, so that is interesting. But now you guys are taking it to the next level. So can you tell me a little bit like how did that even come to mind? Like how are people using these forums, and how did you even get the idea to turn this into something else, because it's now a web app builder, right?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think in part because Fillout has always been focused on a lot of the more powerful features and the flexibility. We had people from very early on, even like months into Fillout, that were hacking the form builder into building essentially like mini portals and mini web applications, because you can in Fillout you can pull information in from different data sources. You can allow updating information instead of creating it. You can add login pages and scheduling, and so people were hacking Fillout to do something which honestly we didn't intend for, and we got many feature requests over the years of saying like, oh, can we build it into a full web application? Can we like pull data in and display it? And can we allow people to update information? And can we build like internal tools and other business apps? And the for a long time we resisted. I think it's really hard to build a platform that allows you to build web applications fully with no code. You have to essentially allow for something that is simple and build something that's drag and drop. But also, how do you like do that in a way that also actually solves the flexibility that you need in order to build the different use cases that companies have? And I think generally it's you need to make some sort of trade-off, or at least I think you did in the past. And we started getting really excited a little bit over a year ago when we started seeing the capabilities of these different AI coding models, and specifically taking the best of both worlds. So, can you take the UX of what you can do now with these AI coding models that can handle a lot of the complexity for you under the hood, but also bring the best of a lot of the tools that have existed in the past, and the customizability, and also the guardrails that you can have, so that this is something that is not just a prototype. You can actually put it into production and it's going to work reliably. And that's the journey we've been on for the past 12 months or so.
So you're saying that it's basically the users that were using the form tool in a different way, which inspired you to build more functionality in it, and AI just came at the right moment?
Yeah, I mean, forms, because they're used in so many different ways, are usually the starting point for many different processes. So, you might be using an internal form to collect information from your team, and then you want to visualize it. Or you're collecting leads from somewhere, and then you want to build a CRM on top of it. And because forms are this starting point for all these processes, we would just see over and over again people saying like, I did the first step, like, can you help me do the next step? And the the technology got to a point where we're like, oh, there's actually a chance for us to do something like unique and novel here that will help solve these problems without turning into a really complicated platform that has a really steep learning curve and can't actually solve people's problems.
Yeah, that's really cool, because I think many companies, when the AI boom started, they were all like, oh, we need to integrate AI somewhere. But like you were already perfectly positioned for it. People were already hacking, and you're basically giving them more tools to do what they were already doing, right?
Yeah, if anything, like it's allowed us to simplify a lot of the product, which is great, because you can let the AI handle the complexities of logic, et cetera, under the hood, but still give you the ability to see everything and understand what is happening. And so, yeah.
Mm, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so a little bit of a personal question as well before we dive into some examples. What is your passion in all of this, and what excites you the most? I can already taste the excitement, but like, what is your vision in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most exciting part is kind of this like original vision that has existed for a long time around no code, which is, can you allow the people who actually have problems that can be helped by software in order to build the software themselves? And so, you know, typically in the past, software engineering has been really expensive, and so there are so many cases in businesses and nonprofits and all sorts of organizations that could have benefited from some sort of custom software that just simply either were not feasible to do financially, or the engineering team was like tied down with other projects. And what excites me is being able to build all those use cases that now allow you to actually make the lives better of the people who work at these different organizations. Um, and also just the breadth of it. Like, we're seeing use cases across every industry that you can imagine, including industry that I didn't even know existed. And it's everything from like SMBs, we have like preschools that are like building their entire like management system for the preschool, like on top of Zite, all the way to some like really large organizations that are building like really important use cases. And seeing like the breadth of that, and also the fact that it's people that before couldn't build this type of software and now they can, it
Mm.
is really cool to see.
Wow, actually, that's really like close to what page builders basically did. Like 5 6 years ago, when the page builder boom basically came. This it was also this moment, right? Like where normal people or designers, mostly designers, they could now also finally build websites. It was not just a thing for coders anymore, and I feel the same excitement right now with the time we're in because AI coding is now allowing us to do this again, but then in other applications, actually in a lot more. Do you also see that like we're in a similar phase as what you had with page builders?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like now you can build many different types of software, and not even just the web application, but the whole system that goes behind it. Um, and yeah, I think, I mean, we're going to get into some example use cases, but it's also, there's just so much opportunity for this. And we've seen folks like agencies and consultants that are able to really master these tools and bring them to these industries where maybe they didn't even know existed, or currently they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these kind of legacy like enterprise tools that don't even serve their use cases well. And I think there's just like
Yeah.
huge opportunity to bring these tools to all these different industries.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful vision because I that's one of the things that I don't like about many of these softwares. Like you sometimes you only need one feature, right? Something small, and then you have to buy the whole package and have to and then the yearly deal is better, and then 2 months later you figure out that you actually didn't need that, or you already found a
Mhm.
replacement for it because you have some other tool. Like I had this with Fillout. Fillout had webhooks already built in, and this is one of these features that in WordPress forms was almost always in the pro version, and in Fillout most of the stuff that was pro in WordPress form plugins was just there. Also automations, like for example, connecting it to your Slack, like something so simple, right? Just hey, you have somebody filled out your form, or sending it to another database platform or whatever automation platform. Um, yeah, so I think it's exciting that we're going to a time now where it's basically less bloat. It's like it's more simple, and AI can mess up things, right? It's not perfect yet. I think we shouldn't act like that. But in the
For
same
sure.
way, yeah, the old system also wasn't perfect. There was a lots of other bloat features that we don't use, all connecting all kinds of systems together. Yeah, that's how I
Yeah, the
how I
idea
see
that,
it.
the in a sense, like the software industry has for a long time been like one size fits all, where
Yeah.
you you have to adopt a platform, which, as you said, you might only need 5 or 10% of it. And also that 5 or 10% doesn't even like match the way that your business or your agency operates. And so, being able to build tools that are purpose built and also that interact with the existing systems that you use. I think that's also really important. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to rebuild everything. We can build on top of that, on top of the software that we have already as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the whole. Just a little sidetrack. I think that's the biggest change that's happening right now. It's like this whole idea of SaaS, which is a off-the-shelf software. We're now going to a time where the software is more like, I don't know, more like a foundational layer, and the agents are doing all kinds of stuff, right? It's changing.
Yeah,
I also see WordPress companies talk about this. They're like, we need your plugin needs to be agent ready now. It's AI is not just a feature anymore that makes things easier, right? It's changing the whole workflow.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I want to before you show me some examples, I just want to ask the question. The company is now called Zite with a Z, and it that sounds a lot like site, but before this it was called Fillout. So can you tell us a little bit about the name and the change?
Yeah. The biggest part of the name change is that because we've started to see people use Fillout and Zite for more and more use cases, Fillout, I think, and we've kept the Fillout brand around for the form builder. I think I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I really like the brand. But with Zite, I mean, we're really thinking about, first of all, like expanding what people think of like a website. Like, a website is not necessarily like a static page that just like renders HTML. It can interact with existing systems that you have. It can pull information. It can be tied to a database that you build. And so, the idea of being able to sort of like redefine what a website actually is really exciting to us. And also, we got the domain name, which, in this day and age is pretty hard to get. So that's the story behind that.
Yeah, a domain name with 4 characters, that's very rare, for sure. But I do agree. Like a website, we also have seen this in WordPress. The a website is not just a static page anymore. Like it's becoming connected to all kinds of systems, um, um, and especially in the future with agents, and maybe even I've seen some people talk about this, which is a crazy idea, is that pages will be generated in the future based on the person. So personalized generated pages. And then it starts to feel more like a web app than just a website. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we should also rethink what a website is.
100%.
Okay. For the people watching live, if you have any questions in the meantime, please put them in the chat. We're now gonna sorry, move on to some examples because we've talked a lot. Let's now show some actual cool stuff. Excuse me for my chair; it's making too much noise. I'm still traveling, so I don't have my own chair, but I hope the audio is good enough. Okay, so I have Zite open here in front of me, the website, and also Fillout. Forms by Zite. Yeah, so now Fillout is just a part of the Zite family, I guess.
Yeah, and the thing that's been really nice is, well, first of all, it's all part of one account. So when you sign up, you can create a form or you can create an app. And then the piece that really ties things together is our built-in database product. So we do integrate with a bunch of other third-party integrations as well. The database is meant to be a way for you to very quickly store information. It's very scalable. You can have millions of rows in it, and you can use it to store the information that you collect from forms, and then you can build applications on top of it as well. And so it kind of serves as the layer between the two.
It's based on PostgreSQL.
Yeah, so under the hood, every customer that signs up to Zite gets their own SQL database. That means that you could you're not affected by what other people are doing. So if you're using it for really data intensive use cases and you're using it for thousands of requests a second, that's totally fine and it's isolated to your account. And then the other big piece to note is the I mean, and this could be a whole discussion in and of itself, but we with Fillout from day one, and then now also with Zite, don't charge by user. So you can invite 5 people, you could invite 15 people, and you don't pay an additional amount per person that is using the software that you build, or even the builders who are building the software. And we think that's where the world is headed, and it's also as software gets easier and easier to build, I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I just saw a video like a few days ago with somebody that said like the whole idea of paying for seats maybe will become irrelevant when agents are becoming part of the employee stack or part of the team, basically. Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. And I think just generally, like, if you're building software, I don't think that you shouldn't be limited and thinking about, oh, this is I can only share it with 10 people, and then otherwise I'm paying like this amount. Like, the software that you build should be yours to share and have other people like benefit from it. But I do think that, yeah, the agents piece is also really interesting. Like, I think that's going to break a lot of existing business models as well.
Very cool, very cool. I love that vision. And there's still a free plan, I see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Fillout, the free tier has been always really, really important to us. Like you mentioned, we have
Yeah.
some people are actually like skeptical when they see like the Fillout pricing page, because they're like, how are you giving all these things for free? And
Yeah.
we've we've done the same thing with Zite, and it's actually like a win-win. Like, first of all, we spend a lot of energy building Fillout and Zite, and we want as many people as possible to be able to benefit from it. But
Mhm.
also, when people build on the free tier, we have like a little like powered by Fillout or powered by Zite badge. And so, you can build something, you can use all of these features, and then if you send it out, then some percent of those people might find out about Fillout and Zite through it. And, it serves as like a marketing channel for us. And then obviously, if you want to pay, you can pay to fully white label it and remove the Fillout branding. But we found that to work really well with Fillout, and so that's why we did the same model with Zite as well.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've seen the same strategy being applied. I think Elementor also one of the reasons why they got really big. Like at some point, you're already in the system as well. You like it instead of having it paid from the beginning. Then people have to go on YouTube and see if they like it before they even sign up. I think it's also just a warm welcome from software companies to the users. I really like it. And now I'm a
For
paying
sure.
customer to Fillout, which is not like it's not because we collaborated. It's literally because I just wanted more features. I wanted the white labeling. I think some other things I don't even remember, but yeah, I'm sold. And I'm not saying that because you're here. And yeah, no. It's really cool. Here, for example, this one, conditional logic. Like this one is almost always a paid feature. But okay, let's talk a little bit about Zite. Can you give me a few examples, maybe, or stories? Like, what are people building? I know one thing for websites, which is really important, is a CRM. So I made one video where I basically said like, okay, you can use Fillout, and then you can connect it via the integrations. Oh, wait, this is import. Yeah, just the integration feature, wherever it is. Um, you can send it to a Google Sheet, and then a Google
Yeah.
Sheet you can have like a drop down in each or in one of the columns, So, for example, a new client, a potential client signs up to you to a form, and then you can put it on a warm lead or a hot lead or follow up or something like that. And that already like opened up my mind. I was like, well, that's already a mini CRM, right? But of course, Google Sheets is very limited. So the only use case that I can think of that's really useful is a CRM. I hope you have an example of that as well. But I also just want to see like other stuff. Like, what are people building with this?
For sure. Yeah, let me share my screen. I can show some examples and talk through them.
Okay.
Are you able to see my screen here?
Yeah, I think we are.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, at a high level, like we're talking about web apps, I think that the big difference is really the logic that exists behind the website. So having a database connected to it, having workflows that are being run as opposed to like a static page that you're rendering. So that's a very broad way of describing a web app. But CRMs are a great use case. We see a lot of like you have there are many CRMs that exist out there, but really at their base, like most CRMs are a database that you can customize and you can add fields to, and you can add your own tables, and you can set the relations between these different tables, and then you build a application on top of it, which allows people like your users to interact with it. So that's something we see very frequently. We see a lot of like document generation use cases happening in Zite. Employee onboarding hubs, like any sort of like client portals are really interesting. We have a couple like real life examples I wanted to show here. So Bombas is one of our customers there. If you've never tried their socks, they're by far my favorite sock brand, and
Socks?
so
Okay.
would highly recommend. But one of the things they do is when you buy a pair of socks from Bombas, they donate a pair of socks, and they have a whole program that they need to run. And this is one of the largest sock companies in the world, and so they have to interact with all these nonprofits that they work with. They have to manage the shipments. They have to have a list of their partner directories, and so a web application might be something as simple as this. Like this is pulling information from their database, which could be, it could be the Zite database, or it could be a third-party database that we connect to. And they're able to display all the information, give you a dynamic way to interact with it as an end user. The next piece is like you can build. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just ask one question about the Bombas. Can you, so in the backend here, there's a whole database, and these are the different posts, I guess, and then there's categories and tags, and they can manage everything in the same way as you can do in WordPress, basically, with post management.
Yeah, and so you can manage all of that, and then you can also manage like how it's being displayed, and you can say like I want to show this information and not this information. I want to allow people to edit this information but not edit this other information. So it comes down to it's like reading information from somewhere, but then also like creating information and editing existing records as well.
So then you have like different user roles. So you're saying like, okay, the client can edit this type of stuff, and then that still gets pushed to the front end.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Okay.
This might be a good time to talk about like login. I think that's authentication, and login is another big difference with a web app versus like a static site, which is you want to have a concept of only certain people being able to log in, and then those people can edit information only about their specific information that is related to them, and you can display information to them. And so this is an example of that they built here, which if you click to log in here, you log in as one of the partners. I can't log in, I'm not a partner. And then you can see information about your real-time shipments that are coming. You can update information about what is being shown like on the directory. And so it's and all of the authentication mechanism, like none of that is vibe coded, right? That's like built into Zite. You have full control over who can log in, what the login rules are, etc. And then you're building the part around it with AI, which is like what you display on the page, etc.
Oh, that's really nice, because this is one of the things that scares me with like vibe coding. Like I get excited about it, but when it comes to security, I I get a bit scared because I don't want to mess it up, right? Like
Yep.
user data is not something you want to um, be easy with. So you're saying the whole authentication and user role system in Zite is not something you vibe code. That is out of the box, off the shelf, because it should be, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
I can show you like a little bit of how it works if that would be interesting.
Yes, please. I would love to see.
So we'll talk about like authentication first, but this is the Zite builder where you actually build the apps,
Yeah.
and you'll notice at the top there are like these four tabs. These are the four sort of core building blocks of a web application. The app is the visual part that you actually see. You can edit this by chatting with the AI, or you can use our design builder that lets you like edit all the information visually. The next piece is like workflow. So this is like, how does my app interact with the systems that I've connected it to? And this is I think one of the like most important parts of Zite, which is just because under the hood a lot of this is like code that's being generated doesn't mean that you can't understand what is happening. And so we basically give you an ability to see in like a drag and drop way, like, oh, this is what happens. So my application here has two different ways that it interacts with my data. It has a way of like pulling in my partner profile, and then it has a way for me to update the partner profile. And because I can see that, I know that there's no way for this app to delete information. Like the only two things that it can do are these two things. And you can then go to the users tab and you can control like, who is allowed to log in. And again, none of this is not vibe coded. This is like built into Zite. You can control that this is an app where you have to be invited to it. Like not anybody can just sign up and use it. You can control the login methods, etc. Or you could make an entirely internal app that's not even available to the outside world as well.
Oh, that's really good, because I have, wow, this is crazy. Like I didn't expect this. I haven't seen this part yet. That's really cool, because I've walked into this issue multiple times now, and this is the hard part for non-coders, right? Like we don't know all of the concepts. We know a lot as WordPress people. We know a lot of these concepts, but with WordPress you get a lot of things out of the box, and that's also that's also the power, right? But you're basically showing like you getting the most important things out of the box here too.
Exactly. Yeah. I think like, there there are places where AI shines, and there are places where it's like these should be fundamental building blocks of the platform
Yeah.
that you're not leaving up to the AI to generate. And so we think very carefully about like what are the ones that we build natively versus the ones where we allow that the LLM under the hood to build on top of.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Thank you for showing the insight. Do you have more examples?
I do, yeah. I can. Should I run through a couple more?
Yeah, please.
So I think maybe one. Well, actually, I'll show one more example that I think is really interesting, particularly uh, to my point earlier around like the fact that there are use cases in all of these different industries. And I think this is everything from like local government. So this is a local government example of a county in the state of New York in the US that has built like literally dozens of apps on top of Zite to solve all these different problems. And this is everything from like taking like these complicated like PDF documents that they used to have and turning them into these web applications that like anybody from the county can come in and easily like browse and find information that previously you would have had to load up this PDF document to be able to find. It's things like a marketplace for like different types of goods that they provide for free to the county, so that you can come in and you can apply to receive something, and then you can get information right there. It's like dashboards, all sorts of like analytics on top of data that they have that they're able to now like visualize really easily and understand. And I mean, this example is like they're like literally saving six figures a year uh, in I think like $10,000 of the savings are like literal paper. These are like processes where they used to have to print out like tons and tons of paper. And obviously then there's also like internal systems that were like previously very expensive that they can build. And so I think this example is just amazing because A, it's very impactful, and then B, for Montgomery County is like one county in New York. Like you can imagine all of the nonprofits that have similar use cases, the different like government entities. Like there's just like I think there's just a lot of opportunity to help organizations of all sizes to build like custom software that helps them.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing to think about. Actually, let's pause a little bit there because I think uh, that's where the big opportunity is. So, okay, I want to pause a little bit here. This is a really important point, I think, because if you think about the opportunity right now, like we have a new technology that allows us to do all kinds of things, right? And then Zite has a specific focus on something, but just this whole AI boom. We have so many companies, organizations with very outdated systems, right? It's not just, hey, can I generate a new cool website with animations or a dashboard for myself? It's like just replacing old stuff. That's the biggest opportunity now. In the same way as in 2019 when Page Builders came out, there was this big opportunity of like, oh, now it's a lot easier to make a website. So let's redo the website we made back in 2014 with this old WordPress theme. It's like this is an opportunity now to replace a lot of the old systems and make organizations a lot more efficient, right? This is a way to think about it, how to sell it, I think. Would you agree?
100%. I think like there's two buckets. One bucket is legacy systems that have been around for decades, some since like the 90s, and they're usually like very, very expensive, and they usually don't match the organization well. And so I think there's like helping to replace those systems or building on top of them and just making those better. And then the other bucket is software that wasn't even built or wasn't like feasible to build before that you can now build. And I think both of those are really important and like huge opportunities.
Yeah, so turning offline systems into online systems now, because before it was too expensive to build custom software, and now you're literally turning paper into Zite.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back. I want to see some more, if you have.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. One other piece that would be interesting to chat about is, can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I see donation tracker.
Yeah. So I think another interesting thing to think about is like the amount of things in the world that run on spreadsheets. So, like it's almost a meme at this point, but the number of processes and organizations where like the core is like building on top of spreadsheets is kind of unimaginable. And the reason is that spreadsheets are really easy to make, right? You can make them and they're also very flexible. But ultimately anybody who's worked in like a big spreadsheet it comes with all these problems, and like if you want to get other people to like come in and use the spreadsheet, like managing the permissions is really difficult. And I think this is a huge opportunity for people to help adopt these new tools like Zite, which is to help replace those spreadsheets, or in some cases build on top of them, and build custom software that works better and is safer to use. And so this is a very simple example, right? Like a donation tracker. This app is set to be internal only. So this might be something that I only want my team to use, and we're tracking donations in here. And you can add new donations. So I can say, Jill, like 30, etc. This is tied to the Zite database. So if you go over here, you can see everything is tracked in here. You can create multiple tables to tie things together. You can add AI fields if you wanted to automatically summarize information. You can add links
Oh,
to different tables, so you can have relations between all the data that you're collecting.
that's
And then
crazy.
maybe the one quick thing I'll showcase is like I think the power of integrations, which is again something that's unique to web applications. So like let's say that I want to receive an email every time that a new donation is added by someone on my team. I could say like send me an email each time a donation is added, and then we'll let Zite do its thing here. And what it's going to do is it's going to let me choose. So in this case, if I want to send the email like from my own Gmail account, I'll just send it from Zite here because that's built in. It's like a little bit easier, but you could have it white labeled, so it's sending from your own domain. And then
And
in this case,
Gmail?
it's asking me like, yeah, and you can send from Gmail or Outlook as well. So
So
in this case, it's
Workspace
asking
also
me like
works?
Google Workspaces does work, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so in this case, like, Zite is able to ask me questions when things are unclear, because you'll notice like in my original prompt, I didn't say where it should send the information. And so
Mm.
in a lot of like other solutions that exist out there, it would just like kind of make something up and then you have to figure out like why it's not working. And so, we spent a lot of time in making it so that Zite is able to ask for things it's not sure about and then like, use that to build the system. And then also I'll show this in a moment, but we can like actually see the logic that it's creating. So here it's now built this in. I can say like, oh, I want to take a look at the logic that it's built. So this is like the add donation workflow, which when somebody builds, and so I can see like, oh, this is like the email that is going to be sent. This is the subject line. This is who it's sending to. And you get the best of traditional no code tools where you can visualize what's happening, but also it's a lot more flexible. We can even try it
Mhm.
out if we want. So
Wow, this
let's
is
say
unique.
like,
I've never seen this one. That's really cool.
and so
So
now if I add a donation,
you're using the workflow feature which you already had in Fillout to basically show how data moves through the system.
exactly.
Wow,
And you
that's
can even
smart.
see like you can look at the history here. So we just sent a donation here, and so we can take a look at like what actually happened, and you get all the information. So it says it sent an email. I'll open up my email, and then you can see this came in here. So it's telling me the new donation was added from John Smith. And if you want to customize the email, you can customize it. And so you don't need to vibe code everything, but you can use the vibe coding when you want to. And then you can, if I want to change like the styling completely, I can do this here. I can like change this to say something else. Like it's really trying to bring like the best of the no code tools and then the AI building experience as well.
Oh wait. This is like a little bit like a page builder. You have like a tree, a layer tree, like a breadcrumbs or a structure panel, and then also visual edit. Wow, that's cool.
This is we actually haven't formally announced this feature yet, but so it's
Oh,
pretty new. But
oh, okay.
this is a sneak peek.
Yay!
But
I got it.
it is released already, so it's out in the wild if you want to try it out.
That's wow. That's really cool. Wow. So you're basically starting with vibe coding, of course, and then you do have click to edit, and then you have some kind of an interface for the simple stuff like bold. You don't have to ask Zite. You don't have to use credits to make a title bold, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, because that's if you know you're limited with credits, that's not what you want to spend your credits on, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, I think over time that these models are going to get faster and faster. But
Mm-hmm.
now you have to obviously wait a little bit between each prompt. It's a different way of building things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you told me that there are people making money with it. So tell me, and if you can share numbers, um, also share some numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we have several folks who are, and these are like agencies and consultants who are building Zite applications for clients, and they're making 5 figures a month. I think there are some of them that are growing very fast and will soon be like in the 6 figure per month range. And like what excites me about that, it's the value that they're bringing to their customers as well. So they're able to uh, for every dollar that they're charging, I don't know the exact number, but like they're either replacing systems or they're improving systems that are able to just provide like a ton of value. And I think like that leads to, I know we might talk a little bit about this, but like the different like business models that you can have as an agency, and how you actually like charge for these different types of services that you can build. But yeah, I mean, there's huge opportunities, and there are just like so many different industries that can benefit from it. And so, um, I think like, if I were building an agency, I would focus on like a specific domain, and just like this technology is like brand new to pretty much every industry, and the number of things that you can build is sort of limitless, and people need expertise. Like the piece that's missing is like knowing like how to use the tools, knowing the limitations of the tools, knowing like when they can be useful, and that's something I think where it can be like extremely valuable for an agency to come in and help to implement these.
Would you agree with my vision that people who have experience in WordPress can be really effective vibe coders?
100%. I think like I mean, really what it comes down to is like systems thinking, and like understanding like the building blocks, also understanding a client, right? And like being able to work with a customer and say and understand like what their needs are. And sometimes it's not even necessarily like the solution that people ask for is not necessarily always the solution that you should build. And I think that's something that folks who have been doing this in any technology stack have gained a lot of experience in, and can then use that and use the new technologies that are available to like really help them. And I think that's probably the hardest part, is like translating problems into into solutions, and understanding the different systems that are there.
Yeah, I always say like it's the difference between wants and needs. Like a client often comes to you and like they say, I want this. And then a beginner would say like, okay, let's do it. But
Mhm.
a more pro person would say, okay, I hear you, but do you really need this? Let's talk about your problems, and then we come up with a solution. Because especially with this stuff, it's like people don't know what's possible. Like I am seeing stuff now. I mean, you're literally showing me new features here as well. Like it's like you say, this is brand new. Like this didn't exist a few months ago, right? And so um, it is a huge new opportunity, but we need to know, I think, where to apply it. And I think we need to train our brain, because with websites, we're kind of like used to that. We know all of the things that are possible. And most businesses now also know where you can use a website. But at the end of the day, a website is just a display of information. It's not as interactive as this, right? The dashboard is a lot more, it has like a deeper impact in companies. It can change the way they work. Um, so I feel like we need to train ourselves to see where this can be applied.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but that will take some time for us. So that's a challenge for us, the web designer, web developer watching. We need to see, I think, many of these examples and be like, oh, I've seen a company doing this. Yeah, I can also apply this to my clients. But that's not easy. Okay. Um, so since we're already talking about like pricing and kind of stuff, like you're saying people are selling this stuff for 5 figures. Okay, so 5 figures is $10,000 per month plus, right? So how do you see this pricing compared to websites? And of course, it depends on where you are in the world, what client you're working on. American dollars are very different, or websites are priced very differently in America than already in Europe. and of course also very different here in Asia. So um, um, so let's not talk in very specific numbers, but we need to have some kind of estimate, right? So let's say you're selling a website for $3,000, a simple, little bit complex, intermediate kind of website. Do you also think like that in terms of web apps? Do you and I know you're not selling web apps to clients, but like what you see from the people using Zite that are having agencies, like do they also have a one-time fee, or do you see more like models where they have monthly, where they sell it as a monthly package? Like what do you see happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think the well, first of all, it's I think important to think about like what the alternative is in many cases. And for web applications, like until even 6 or 12 months ago, like the only alternative was to have software engineers build it. And if you have a use case where you want to build a custom web application, like that's basically the only option you had for many types of web applications, at least. And the first of all, like hiring great software engineers is really difficult. And when you do hire them, you're paying usually six figures a year in US dollars. And also there are so many needs within a business that you probably already have like a backlog of, a dozen different projects that you want to work with. And so I think that's part of why we're seeing these types of web applications and systems are usually a lot more valuable, and the alternative is hiring additional software engineers or the software not even being built at all. And so because of that, I think you can charge significantly more. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the specific model, I think like the model that probably I'd suggest against directly is like I mean, hourly can work in some ways, but I think like the ideal is that you're charging for like the value that you deliver. And like, I think monthly retainers are really interesting because then you get some like stable recurring revenue, and you're able to handle like the maintenance of the apps. And in the past, that model was hard to do for like software engineering because it would have been so expensive to offer like a monthly retainer where whatever asks they have for you that you're going to like build them. But now because of the tools that are available, you're able to just do a lot more a lot faster. And so I think that's opened up that new business model, which I think is a plus for both sides.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're basically viewing it through the not as a product that you sell, but more as like a service. I mean, that's also how I like to view the website business. We're not just in the business of selling websites. I mean, we were kind of, but I think over the years I've also started to realize that we're actually in the service business and not in the website business, because there's often also a lot more that they want, and it's a lot of guidance. So you're basically saying like, okay, the alternative is to hire a developer. Yeah, sure, okay, but that alternative was only available to the big companies. So for the small companies, that's not even a discussion because they would never go there, right? So what would you say to the small to medium-sized businesses that would have never had a web app in their life? Like, how do you think we can sell to them? Should we also think about it like that? Maybe like a smaller monthly package. So let's just scale it down. Let's say for big companies, they were already used to paying, you say 100 grand per year. Okay, let's say $5,000 a month. That's not possible for smaller companies. So then for super small companies, you would say $500 a month, and then I will continually make your system better. Is that how you're thinking about this?
I think so. And I mean, sometimes I think the hardest part is the first step, right? Which is showing like, oh, this is something that you can get value from. And that that is incidentally also something that I think a lot of the new tools like Zite are great for, which is you can build like a proof of concept much faster than you could in the past. And so, you don't necessarily need to get, if you're an agency, you don't have to get a client to commit to to a huge budget to build something before they've even seen it. You can build like even on the call with someone. Like we've heard these stories from our clients where like the person that they're speaking to will be like describing like the problems they have, and like during the call they'll send off a quick prompt to Zite, and then they'll just like screen share and show like, hey, like this is the type of thing that we could build for you. And I think that's really powerful. And then once the customer sees the value of it and they're like, oh wow, this would like be really useful to us, then the exact pricing model can depend. Like you could charge a one-time fee to build it, and then some sort of like maintenance on top of it. Or even another model we've seen is like training. Like I think like training people at companies to be able to maintain the software and build the software themselves is also really valuable. And people are like really looking for resources that will allow them to make their employees, more savvy with the new technology. So I think that's also a big opportunity.
Oh, so you're giving then the building tools to the company, so you're selling training then basically.
That's also, I mean, it depends on, I think, the size of the company, but it is something that we've started to see, and I think is,
Yeah.
and the two are also not mutually exclusive, right? You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
you can
yeah.
offer like the training, and then you can also do the builds as well.
Yeah, yeah, it really depends. I think for small to medium sized businesses, they don't have people that they need to train, right? It's just a
Yeah,
company below 20 people. You don't really have training programs, but they still could benefit so much. It could save thousands of dollars per month just by having good software, right?
definitely.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I am inspired. Like, thank you already for doing this. This is so cool. You're giving me so much food for thought. But I wanna. We also have
So
to talk about something specific a little bit more before we end, and then we also see if there are some questions. Um, you already showed that there are guardrails built in, right? The authentication part is not vibe coded. And you can see the flows, how the data moves through the system, etc. But one of the things that, as a WordPress creator, we're really used to is good backups, and that has saved my ass many times. So, how does this work in with Zite? Because my experience with vibe coding platforms is that the backend and the front end are separated. In WordPress, when you make a backup, it's always like the front end and the backend, it's in one file. Somehow they did that. I don't know how, but like in vibe coding platforms, it's always separate. Like the front end gets pushed to GitHub, and then that's where the version control is because it pulls from there somehow. And then the database is a separate system, but there is not always a backup system there. So like, how do you guys are handling this?
yeah, so I can show a few things here. So
Oh, okay, wait, let me share this one. Okay.
so I mean, the first thing is just like really a bit easy ability to undo. So if you make a change, like this is the app we were looking at before, you can undo that. You can also go back to the history and actually see like all the different sets of changes, and you can say like, oh, let's look at like the app when it was here. This is before we made the change to the theme, and so just being able to see the history, and also if I wanted to, I could restore back in 2 clicks here to the old version. So I think that piece is really important. You can also export the app as well. So if I export the app, then I could import it into like a client's account, or I could just like save a backup for my own purposes. So those
What's
are some of the
happening then?
pieces. Sorry, say again.
Sorry, what is happening if you click export? Is it the front end or also the database?
It's also the database. So it exports the full schema of the database. So if you import it in, it'll import all the different fields, etc. The piece that is coming soon, which we're actually releasing in April, is being able to have automatic backups of the database. So in
Mm.
this case, of the database data rather. And so currently, I mean, the way that we manage the database, we have backups that are made automatically, but we're going to be exposing that to the customer, and so you'll be able to issue like manual database backups if you want to, and you can like revert back to an old set of the data if you want to. So yeah, but when you export, it exports like the schema and everything, just not the data itself.
Okay, but so we're gonna get to a situation where we can set up, for example, daily database, daily backups, and then you can export that to, I don't know, your Dropbox, for example, so you always have a backup.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if we probably won't support like Dropbox right away in the first release, but you'll have automatic backups that are all stored within within Zite that you can roll back to, and then in time we'll offer more integrations for that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the first phase is inside of Zite, yeah, but I mean, I know that many of my viewers, and including me, I wanna own stuff, and sometimes some platforms, like, they lock you in, they don't give you access. But I think this is also the beauty of AI coding, is that you can own it if the companies allow it. So you guys are going to allow it, you're just not there yet to have it externally exported to another platform, but you're building integrations to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So if there are any questions in the chat, then put them over here. As I expected, there are not as many people live because it's a very weird time to go live. People are not expecting that, but that's fine. We will probably see some comments later, and I will of course also send this live stream as a newsletter. But I think the ideas we discussed in this live stream are very, very important. I didn't expect to be even more convinced. I was already like very excited about the future of AI coding. I'm starting to see that this is so much more than just generating a dashboard or an internal tool. It can really change the way that companies work. It can transform our businesses. Like, we're going to a time where websites will be easily generated, whether that's inside of a page builder or outside, doesn't really matter for the end product. Of course, there are some differences, but we're going to a time where we can provide so much more value to clients. We just have to learn how to see it, right?
Yeah, and it's not. I think the part that's really exciting too is it's like the full stack, where you have the part that you can see, which is the front end of the website, but that it's also like the database and also the automations and the workflows that go around it, and the full system, which is is something that works for like humans that are using your software, but also for agents and being able to just have like a production system that is able to like do things for your business. I think it's a very exciting time to be building.
Yep, I completely agree. And uh, Impacts Oal Kubo is also excited. Yeah,
I
it
like the
is
name.
exciting. Yeah, I don't know what his name is, but yeah, that's one more. Looking forward to experimenting with this before I can actually formulate coherent questions. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of these live streams which is gonna age well. Like, at this point, I think we're very early with this new idea. I feel like we are so stuck kind of in our ways of thinking. It has really took me a lot of time, at least in the last few months, to open up my mind to, hey, I'm not just in the website business anymore. And again, like I said, I've always felt like we were already in the service business because clients want a lot more than just a website. They want guidance, they want marketing. But now, like, it's I feel like companies like you, and also you specifically, you are creating an opportunity, but at the same time you're you're kicking everybody under the ass in a nice and loving way, and say like, hey, you can do this now. Come on, let's go. But people need to realize that this is possible now. So, yeah, thank you for doing this, because I think, well, this is just one of many, and I'm gonna apply this thinking in my content strategy, and I would love to, yeah, build some stuff with Zite, because I think I wanna try to do some stuff with clients, but I'm not sure yet how that's gonna be. I saw you show me an export feature, but maybe you can show that after the call, because that I think that would be interesting to make some tutorials about, showing like, okay, let's say you have built something, how do you then transfer that to a client? Do they also need like a Zite subscription, etc.? And we don't have to discuss this now. I think this live stream is long enough, unless you really want to say something. But I think I'm ready to go to the next step. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But I want to make it more concrete. Like, how do we do this? Can we transfer it to another client? I know with forums it's very easy. You can have workspaces and then manage stuff for clients. So I'm imagining it's the same with Zite.
Yeah, because Fillout has been around for a while, like we got to inherit a lot of the things that we built for Fillout over time. Like, a lot of agencies have built a lot of forms and scheduling workflows, etc. And because of that, we have a pretty robust system where you can create different workspaces. You can add people to just certain workspaces or others. You can create entirely new organizations, so you can quickly switch between. You can have an account for your firm, and then you can also switch to different client accounts. And because you don't have to pay per user, you don't have to worry about like paying for each time you invite a client to one workspace, or inviting like your whole team. And we'll have more news to share soon, actually, like on the partner program. But we're launching an official partner program where, as part of that, like as an agency for your internal use, you'll be able to have the highest plan of Zite, and you'll be able to use it for forms and for apps, and free of charge. And then, once you have a client that's actually like using one of the apps, you can easily manage the client account and have it be part of that. But we'll have more to share there soon.
Okay, I will be very interested in that once that moment is here. ID Graphics says we're selling or marketing the whole system, not just a website. Yes, exactly. That's I think the mindset. We need to be systems thinkers. Yeah, like I'm starting to see that the whole term web designer, web developer is kind of like fading, and we're more like system designers now. We're becoming that, right?
We might need to make that our new Zite headline. I like that a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, Elementor had this quote for a long time. They said you are a web creator. I think that's also a nice term, because it's not just design or development, right? Design and development is merging, but yeah, now with agents and all of this, it's like, yeah, we're not web designers, we're system designers.
I like it.
Okay, all right. Do you still wanna end with something, Dominic? Because I think we wanna wrap it up here.
No, I mean, just thank you for having me. This has been really fun. And if anybody has any questions, my email's dominic@zite.com, and I'd love to hear from people. So just email me if you have questions, or if any follow-ups, or obviously comment on the stream as well. And thanks again for having me. This was really fun.
Okay, let's see if I can put that in the chat. Dominic@zite.com. I don't know if YouTube allows it if I place a comment. Yeah, okay. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been, this is what people like here in the USA. Yeah, of course, for the USA timeline, time zone, this is good. But normally I had to wake up early for this one. Normally I don't do this, but this is of course a very special one. Okay, Dominic, thank you so much. This has been great. And thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.